All right. Special features, just come along and have a chat with me, some tea, and maybe we might have a little fun. Special features, just talking about the movies and then something that might strike a chord with everyone. Strike a chord with everyone. Special features. Yeah.
Well, hello.
Hello.
Welcome to episode 16, season 2, episode 6 of the Special Features podcast. My name is Maximilian Greatshell.
And I'm Walter Greatshell.
He's my daddy.
I'm his dad.
My papa.
If you couldn't
my
tell.
Plop plop. Yes. If you've been watching the podcast up until now, you'll notice we're a little more comfortable than we've been in the past. And that's for good reason. We're sitting on couches is one of the reasons. But also we bought these microphones. Well, I bought these little lav mics that we can wear instead of using the Yetis. I know sometimes the Yetis can record my beautiful deep timbre of a voice more effectively sometimes, but this just gives us a flexibility and freedom of movement. You might also notice that the quality of film is not as good. I hope you don't notice that. I hope that that the modern technology of the phone is good enough, because the camera I was using before this I don't have access to anymore. But I feel like this is a whole new podcast now. You know, we're able to be more comfortable, more free, able to you can sit back without destroying your back while we record the podcast.
That's true.
We can go anywhere now. And these microphones have these cute little like wind protectors on them, you know, so we can go outside.
Like tiny tribbles.
Yeah, it's like our microphones have an untrimmed pubic bush. Mine's gray for some reason, even though I'm younger. But now we can go out into the world. I was actually thinking, I have an upcoming wedding in October with my fiance Gwen, who's been on the podcast before, and now we have our own podcast called the Peach Rat Podcast, where we discuss food and travel and our relationship. And, you can catch that on my other YouTube channel, which is, I think, Deadly Pastry Man is my other YouTube channel. I haven't uploaded any of it yet. It's going to start being uploaded weekly in May on Sundays. So we're going to be introducing some content there, various social medias. I'll talk about it more when we have it more established later.
Nice.
But I'm pretty excited about that. We called it the Peach Rat Podcast because the house we live in has a peach tree next to it, and there's this old rat that steals all the peaches off of it and eats them every year before anybody gets a chance. And we have yet to put in protective measures to prevent the theft of the fruitery.
Well, it's his right as a rat.
It's as right as a rat.
That's right.
It's as right as a rat. It's like writing a poem about Peach Rat.
That's right.
It's as right as a rat to steal our fat and take our peaches to lunch.
It's a rap on the rat.
Fabulous. Anyway, either way, I'm looking forward to this new era in our podcast. And I know, it hasn't come to term yet, but starting June, we're going to be having 2 episodes a month of this podcast. So get excited.
Yay!
Lots of new fun changes, plus multiple episodes of the minicast that we can now do now that we have these mics. Oh, that's right. I completely lost track. I got distracted by the podcast. I was going to say we're getting married in October, but also I have to go to one of my cousin's wedding in August. And I've never really had like a proper suit. I've had like variations of suits throughout my life, but my body's changed a lot since then.
Sure.
Lost and gained weight and lost now. Don't I look good? I just got a haircut today.
Nice.
I was a little frustrated by that. I think it looks okay.
It looks fine.
I just felt like it was a little rushed. But what I was going to say is I kind of need to go suit shopping. And I was thinking it might be funny. Gwen thought it might be funny if you went suit shopping with me.
Okay.
So that I could buy a suit and we did like a mini cast while I was suit shopping.
Sure, we could do that. I'd be into it. That'd be fine.
That might be silly.
I should probably get a suit too, since I'm also going to these weddings.
Well, yeah, but you have a suit.
I do. I have a suit.
Do you still have like that camel hair jacket?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not. I don't think it's
I
made
think
of
so.
camel hair. It's just very beige looking.
It's the color of a camel.
Yes.
Yeah.
The camo jacket.
Yeah, I think I have it. Yeah.
What about the that jacket you used to wear, the super dark gray one?
That one I don't know. Yeah, maybe not. I have some, but I've got several. It's just that most of them are probably not wearable.
But that was my favorite one.
Yeah, it might be in there. I don't know.
I
We'll
like
have to
the
see.
I like the dark gray one. That's the one you wore when you were doing promotions for your zombies book.
Yes, that's
and
right.
you wore like blue makeup. My dad wrote a series of zombie books, and the zombies in his books are blue because the way you become a zombie is you basically have all the oxygen sucked out of your body, so your body is like hypoxic.
Yeah.
And it turns blue.
Yeah.
Which, if that sounds interesting to you, by all means, look up Zombies spelled with an X, Walter Greatshell. You should be easily able to find him on Amazon.
I should have brought a copy. I could have shown it.
Yeah, they're really interesting. The first book, I think, is really genuinely a very new take on the idea of zombies. And you were writing them in a time when like zombies were just really re-entering popularity.
Yeah, well, before, unfortunately. I think if I'd written them a couple of years later, they might have done better. I mean...
Well, either way, they're great books. You should check them out.
Yeah. Thank you.
But I do like that suit jacket. It's very... I don't know, it works for you because it's like kind of vagabondish, but it's also like kind of classy in like an old-fashioned way. I don't know,
Right.
it sort of works.
No,
like
I know
you
what
might
you're
see
saying.
like a hobo on a train wearing it,
Right.
but you might also see like, like I don't know, you're a literary lumberjack.
That's right. Yeah. I'm a literary ne'er-do-well.
A lumberjack of ne'er-do-well. That's better. Anyway, despite our new situation, I still have the dogs gated in the kitchen,
Yep.
just so they don't run around and bark too much. And it seems to keep them relatively calm
Yeah.
enough to do our little talks. So that's good.
Yeah, it's good because otherwise they're all over us and it gets a little crazy.
Absolutely.
Nice dogs though. I love those dogs.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Well, recently we took all of us in the last minute. Basically, what happened? Me and my fiance and her brother took a last minute trip to New York because her brother wanted to meet somebody up there. So he had access to like a free hotel room, and we jumped on. And I found like a comedy event that was happening in New York at a club called The Stand, and I did some stand up there. But I needed to bring a certain number of guests because a lot of these comedy shows where you get to perform in like a real room with an audience or with like somebody who might actually have some influence watching, you kind of have to pay for in New York. Or bring guests with you, bringer shows. So I had to bring 4 people, and I sort of last minute convinced you guys to run up to New York.
Yeah, but you didn't have to convince us. I mean, we wanted to go. It'd been a few years since we'd been there, so it was fun.
Well, I've talked extensively about our trip on the Peach Rat podcast. The hotel we stayed in, we were hoping it would be slightly nicer. It was a little grungy, but it wasn't too bad. It was called like the 6th Street Hotel or something.
Okay.
We ate various things there. How did your trip go?
Ours was great. I mean, the hotel room was it was a very small hotel room, but the hotel itself was nice. It was called the Paramount.
The Paramount, okay.
And
you said the lobby was very impressive.
Yeah, the lobby's very nice. It's like some kind of weird Roman, orgy. Because it's a bunch of couches and stuff that people just kind of lay out, and it's got a big bar. But then the room itself was quite small, but it was fine. I mean, we didn't need a lot of space.
It was good enough to sleep in for a night or two.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I'll tell you, we did more walking over the 3 days that we were in New York than I think I've ever done. We did like 30 miles of walking.
That's crazy.
Yeah, we pretty much walked the length of Manhattan multiple times.
I feel like even experienced hikers say they usually only do about 15 or 20 miles a day.
Yeah. Well,
so 30 is pretty wild.
This was this was about 10 miles a day, but it was...
okay, but that's still good.
Yeah.
Especially when you're not somebody who is a consistent hiker.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you walk a lot, but you know what I mean? Like, you're not somebody that's like, you're not getting up at, I almost said you're not getting up at 4 a.m., but you kind of do get up at 4
a.m. I do, yeah.
Okay, my dad is an experienced hiker. I take everything I've said back.
Yeah, because, I mean, your mother would sleep in and I would go out in the early morning and I'd walk until about, 9 a.m. and then she would get up.
Yeah.
And then we'd walk together for the rest of the day. So, I mean, I got in a substantial amount more walking than she did, but both of us walked a long way. We got some blisters, but it was beautiful. I mean, I love walking around Manhattan and looking at it, and it's obviously a good time of year. The weather was nice. So yeah, we walked through Central Park. We actually there's a little museum in Central Park, and there was a museum exhibit of old New Yorker covers.
Yeah.
And so we went to that exhibit, and we saw, the covers of these old New Yorker magazines, and which seemed like kind of the quintessential thing to do in New York. One thing that kind of impressed me was on West 57th, there's a building that is made, I've been in New York many times, but I had not seen this before. It must be new. A building that looks like a stack of Louis Vuitton suitcases. And this building is huge. It's a huge, tall building.
Yeah.
But the entire building is
Louis
made
Vuitton
to look
suitcases.
like a giant, yeah, exactly. And it looks like suitcases like Godzilla would have.
Well, I've heard that more buildings in New York are being built with I forget, there's a name for this, but I forget what it is. But there's more buildings in New York being built where like the individual tiers of the buildings are offset from the lower tiers.
Okay.
And the intention there is to buy more air rights above other buildings.
Huh.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like the buildings as they're growing are like competing for the fucking air rights in the sky above the other buildings.
Wow.
It's kind of weirdly like self-destructive in a way for the city, but I feel like that's what's happening.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know I don't think that was the situation with this particular structure that we saw, the suitcase building.
Yeah.
But what was interesting about it was that how nicely crafted all of the miniature like everything was replicated, like all the little latches and the little hinges and all the fixtures that are on a suitcase, like the little chrome corners, the little corner protectors.
Yeah.
All that stuff was scaled up like 1,000 times.
Yeah.
So you could see these, like the chrome latch, which was, normally on a suitcase is maybe a couple of inches long, was like 20 feet wide, and that kind of thing.
That's unutterably delicious.
It was very, very cool to see it. Just the craftsmanship of building something on that scale was very interesting.
I do like giant versions of things
Yeah.
and tiny versions of things. And I feel like I'm not alone in this because every time I'm on social media, there's always somebody doing giant versions and tiny versions of things.
No, sure.
I recently saw a guy that made giant Fruit Loops, where basically he made like these Fruit Loop cakes and then like dehydrated or freeze dried them so that they became like crispy the way Fruit
Crunchy?
Loops are,
Oh my
and then
God.
like scraped them to make them look like kind of like the way Fruit Loops look, where they look like kind of like the surface of the moon or something.
Yeah. Wow.
And he said they were good.
Yeah.
He then put the giant Fruit Loops in a bowl and poured milk into it and was eating them. And I was like, that sounds good. It's probably just like big cakes. Although I feel like at some point they would probably dissolve and get gross.
Yeah, probably. It's
So
fun.
people like giant and tiny things.
Yeah, well, I mean, for some reason you're causing me to flash on. There's this movie that came out in the 60s. I think it was the 60s, or it might have been the 50s, called Village of the Giants.
Yeah.
And it's basically about this group of teenagers that grow to giant size. They grow to the size of King Kong, and take over this village, this town where they live. And at one point they raid basically a Kentucky Fried Chicken or a chicken restaurant, and they get these little buckets of chicken with these little tiny like chicken wings and stuff like that, and they're like eating these little pieces of chicken. And I was thinking they probably got those from like quail or something,
Yeah.
some kind of smaller, because it looks like they're really eating these things.
Quail are good.
Yeah. But what the best thing about this movie is that I was reminded of it because I was watching that Tarantino movie, Death Proof,
Oh yeah.
which is about the car chase.
Yeah. I know Death Proof. I love Death Proof.
Now the theme music from Death Proof is actually the theme music that was taken from this Village of the Giants movie, because that's the theme music of that movie that Tarantino used for Death Proof.
Okay.
But yeah, that movie always made me want to get like a tiny little miniature bucket of chicken that I could actually eat.
Well, I think a lot of people think along the same wavelengths as you. You know, that's why stuff like the Tiny Chef Show is so popular.
Yeah, sure.
Or like for a while, I know that like videos making tiny food out of tiny ingredients were very popular.
Yeah, that's right. That was a kind of a fad for a while, making these little teeny edible meals.
But as far as Death Proof goes, love that movie.
Yeah.
I actually like it in its full form even more than its original release form, where it was shortened to be like a double feature with a movie that called Planet Terror, I believe, was the
Yeah.
other movie.
Yeah.
Which was by the guy that did The Faculty. What's his name?
Yeah, it's
He's Tarantino's friend.
yeah, Rodriguez.
Yeah, Robert Rodriguez.
Yeah.
And not usually a big fan of Rodriguez. Some of his effects are interesting. Like I like his horror concepts and the like the effects design around them. And I kind of like how gross he is sometimes, but I don't. But Tarantino, I think, is a better overall story maker. And Death Proof, when I watched the whole movie, is actually, I think, a really good movie. A really good grindhousey type of movie.
It is.
Like you said, though, it really only has one flaw, which is when the girls at the end go toe to toe with the villain guy who's driving like a souped up like stunt car that's basically indestructible.
Right.
And they're like driving, I think, just a regular Mustang or something.
Yeah. How can they?
How can their car not be utterly destroyed?
Yeah.
But I guess my only thinking for that is that maybe we're just supposed to believe that car was also some kind of a stunt car.
Maybe.
But if you suspend your disbelief on that part, I think the rest of the movie is really well done.
Yeah, it is. It's a fun movie, and especially it's fun if you like can kind of catch all the little Tarantino hidden,
Hidden gems.
Well, what do they call that when you like put little Easter
eggs?
Yeah, there's a lot of little Easter eggs in that movie. Like one of the cars in the movie is a replica of the car from the original Gone in 60 Seconds.
Yeah.
Which is a car chase movie that I really loved when I was a kid in the 70s. And part of the reason I loved it is because they filmed it in downtown Long Beach, which is where I grew up.
I still haven't seen the original Gone in 60 Seconds. I only saw the trailers for that horrible remake they made.
Yeah, they did a remake, and the remake's not as good.
But yeah, I need to see the original. I know that Death Proof was, in some part, that was one of his inspirations for Death Proof, Gone in 60 Seconds.
Yep.
But I also just love that, oh my God, I can never remember the people who are like the most influential in my life the moment I have to mention their names in the podcast.
Of course, same here.
Kurt Russell.
Yes.
I love Kurt Russell in that movie.
Yeah, he's great.
Kurt Russell is the best part of everything I see him in. Like, even if the movie's not very good, he's still good in it.
Yeah.
Like, he's the best part of The Thing. He's definitely the best part of Escape from New York.
Oh, yeah.
And Escape from New York is not that good. I mean, I don't want to be a jerk about Escape from New York. It's not a bad movie. It's fun. I think it's worth watching. I just don't think it's as thought out as it could be.
Yeah.
Escape from LA is terrible, but I'm sure Kurt Russell is good in that.
Yeah. That movie's not even really finished, I don't think. Like one of the things I was struck by when I saw it was how half done the special effects are. It's a very rough. I think they ran out of money.
I just kind of feel like, for me, Kurt Russell, in my mind, he's sort of like a Sam Elliott type character.
Yeah.
Like, he pops up from time to time, and there was a period of time when he was like way more famous.
Yeah.
But like, he's still really exciting to see in anything that he pops up in.
Sure.
And well, it's silly of me to say he was way more famous. Kurt Russell and Sam Elliott are still pretty famous, both of them.
Sure.
And both of them have been in projects recently. Like, Kurt Russell was in The Avengers.
Yeah.
And Sam Elliott was in A Star Is Born.
Yeah.
So like, they've been in stuff recently. It's not like they're has-beens.
No.
What I'm saying is I loved them and I still love them.
It's just, to me, Kurt Russell he's like a fixture of my whole life, because in some of the earliest movies I ever saw, he was in them.
Yeah.
Like I remember, I've told you about, how I felt when I was a kid. I loved these Disney movies, like the Computer Wore Tennis Shoes.
Oh yeah, because you're talking about like his really early work.
Yeah, when he was basically a teenager.
Yeah.
He was making those movies. But I love those movies, and in fact, to this day, one of my favorite opening credits sequences is the opening credits for the Computer Wore Tennis. No, for the other movie that he made for Disney, which was The Strongest Man in the World. Yeah. And I love the opening credits for that movie.
It's so funny to me, because your impression of Kurt Russell is like, your first impressions is based on everybody's impression of an actor is based on their first impressions. And for you, your impressions of him are like this kind of like charming, like, teen hero of these movies. And for me, he's like this grizzled action hero.
Right, from the 80s or whatever. Yeah.
And like, it's just so different. And I'm sure kids who have seen Kurt Russell only in his most recent work would just think like, oh, he's just some guy.
Yeah.
Or they think of him as like, Ego, the Living Planet or whatever.
Right.
Like,
right.
And it's just so weird to me.
Yeah.
It's like, he's kind of like just this cool old guy.
Yeah.
Or like,
But But that's
And in that way, it's kind of similar to what's his name, the guy that played the dude.
yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, oh man,
I know we're the worst.
yeah, sorry.
But
we should probably keep notes.
yeah, just
but,
of all these actors, I know we can look them up, but I don't want to bore people by like pulling up the
Jeff Bridges.
Jeff Bridges, yes. Yeah, because I feel like Jeff Bridges is the same way. It's like he's always been around.
Yep.
But in recent history, he's just sort of this like stoic old man.
Yeah.
You know, like I feel like a lot of people will know him from like stuff like the new Tron, and that's so funny to me because it's like, but he was like a kid in the original Tron.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
yeah, like a video game addict kid, basically.
Yeah. But he's been like always there, just kind of floating around too.
Yep.
Love him.
Yeah.
God, it's so sad because I feel like so many of the actors from like, you know, the 70s and 80s are just starting to get so old that some of them are like dropping off now.
Yeah.
And it's you know, it's interesting to see the whole wave of that whole period of time. Like, you know, from like really honestly from like 1960 until like now, kind of like disappearing.
Yeah, no, it's true. But of course, you know, I sort of feel like it's coinciding with my own life. You know, I feel like I've gotten older, and I look at some of these people.
And you're irrelevant.
Exactly, we've all become irrelevant together. But it's, you know, it's a little bit.
Not that I'm not irrelevant, though.
Well,
I mean, I'm like almost 35. There's a huge generation of people out there that have reference points that are nothing like mine.
No, that's
Although
true.
I would argue, considering the generations that have come after my generation have been largely influenced by the internet and by social media, that my generation is actually probably a little bit more, I don't know, like, I don't want to say anything rude, like we're more like intelligent or like something stupid like that, because I don't think that's true. I think what we are is just more aware of things outside of like the realm of the internet and social media. Mm-hmm. So like a lot of kids now discover everything through the internet.
Right.
And whereas we had the chance to discover things like in the world.
Right.
Much more. So I think in that way, I think we're more like physical life versed, I guess would be a way to put it.
Well, and I think you could also kind of say
maybe better read. I don't know.
Well, that's what I was about to say. You know, people who have read things in print, you know what I mean, not on a screen.
Yeah.
You know, like books, magazines, you know, things that were common when we were younger. Even comic books. You know, I don't know how many kids these days read a comic book or look, you know, or would do that.
But that's why I have to be careful. Like, I don't want to insult the generations after my generation because it's not fair.
No.
I'm insulting them based on circumstances that are out of their control.
Right.
So like the people that say stuff like, oh, this new generation like is super rude or they don't pay attention or like they're all stupid, like that you have to understand where these kids grew up.
Sure.
I mean, these are kids that grew up basically online most of the time.
Yep.
So a lot of their like references, inferences, the way they perceive the world is based on that. And they've also grown up in a world that's like basically crumbling in front of them in a way that's more obvious and erratic than ever before.
Yeah.
You know, which gets reinforced every day to them on the internet through fear mongering.
Yeah.
So these are kids who like have kind of been born into like this horrible nihilism as a result of their circumstances. It's not, if they come off as like crass or something, I don't think that's their fault.
No.
I think it's like anybody who was in a situation that was that chaotic would end up with some issues.
Sure. Well, and if I just think about myself, I mean, this world has affected me too. It's not like I spend all my time reading books. You know, I mean, I probably read less now than I've ever read in my life.
No, and me too. And I mean, even us just doing this is an example of that.
Exactly.
Like
right.
we're sitting here recording something so that other people can watch it for like an hour at a time online.
Right.
You know, it's like that limits your ability to interact with your own mind and with the world.
Yeah.
Like, and it has its ups and downs. That's all I'm saying. Something has recently been worrying me a little bit though, which I've been seeing a lot more advertisement and growth in the field of like AI tools for making art and content. I've been seeing like programs basically that will like edit your videos for you and put them up.
Wow.
All with AI.
Yeah.
And that bothers me because I understand that's kind of the direction we're going in.
It's inevitable, I think.
Yes, but I don't like that. Like after all the work I'm trying to put in here to like figure out how to do all this, like and all the interesting facets of that.
Right.
I don't think all that stuff should be taken away from everybody. Like every element of the creation process. And I know a lot of people will argue stuff like, oh, the intention is for these tools to be a benefit, you know, to be an aid, not to stop humans from having to do anything.
Right.
But it's like, it doesn't feel like that. It doesn't feel like ultimately it does feel like these tools will do everything. And that's distressing.
But you know that they will. I mean, it's inevitably going to be that way, where these things will all be created completely apart from, us.
But then we end up in spooky stuff like the dead internet theory.
Yeah.
You know, where it's like every interaction online is literally just automated and there's no real humans interacting at all anymore.
Right.
Which just seems like, at that point, what's the point?
Absolutely.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like when you get to a point where humans aren't doing any of the stuff and all of it is just driven by by algorithms and by AI, what's the point for us to exist?
I agree. I think but that's what they keep talking about with this whole singularity thing. I think that there is going to be a threshold beyond which we're going to have to figure out some entire new template of how to like live and pass time and work. All these things are going to be affected.
Yeah.
And I have no idea what the ultimate resolution of that is going to be. I mean, who's to say? It's a strange, I think, unfathomable bridge that we're going over.
Well, I know there's a lot of fear-mongering about it, and I try not to freak out about it. I mean, because at the end of the day, my kind of ultimate hope is that all of us will get to like technology will become so advanced that we can basically like enter a new sphere of life where essentially like everything that happens is based on our own conscious thought, or unconscious thought, as it were, rather than just like, going to work, coming home, hugging our kids. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, evolution is inevitable to some extent, but what I'm afraid of is stagnation.
Yeah.
What I'm afraid of is that it will come to the point where we have all of these tools that can do basically everything, and it's going to make us stagnate or destroy us, or going to make somebody try to seize power if that's possible. You know what I mean? Like, there's also the whole thing with like, what if the rich decide to just like F off somewhere and just screw everybody over? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, we don't know what's going to be within humanity's hands.
Right.
And people always talk about like, worst case scenario is something like an apocalypse, like we all get wiped out. And I've never thought that was worst case scenario. I've always thought worst case scenario was super advanced technology and AI becomes available and it doesn't have its own consciousness or make its own choices. And as a result, the people in power, somebody grabs hold of it. And then we end up with something like some kind of worldwide church that builds some sort of artificial reality hell that anybody who they don't like gets sent to for eternity. You know what I mean? Something like that is a nightmare. And I fear even just saying that, because I'm worried at some point some rich person is going to hear this podcast somehow, that clip, and be like, that's a good idea.
Right.
Because it seems like the people in power, that's the way they think. They're like, they hear something horrifying and they're like, that's brilliant. We should do that.
Yeah, right. No, absolutely.
I mean, look at that thing that happened at the World Financial Summit a few years ago where they were talking about like monitoring people's brain waves on job sites, Like that's the kind of thing people are terrified of. But anytime anybody with money hears an idea like that, it's almost like they read science fiction or listen to science fiction just so they can come up with like horrifying ideas for their dream dystopias.
Right. Well, I mean, did we talk about this in a previous podcast about how I had this theory about, where a lot of this, the current administration's ideas came from is because somebody in there is a huge Star Wars fan.
Oh yeah.
And so that whole thing about, the trade wars in the Phantom Menace, the Phantom Menace, the whole plot of that is like this trade war. And it's like, so yeah, trade wars, that's how you start to put a dictator in power.
Yeah.
And
that's kind of what's happening.
That's kind of what's happening. Yeah. It's
like
with
all the tariffs
exactly.
and everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Trump is, or more accurately, Elon is Palpatine.
Yeah. Well, exactly. I mean, who knows?
Trump is Count Dooku.
Yeah. Palpatine is lurking below the surface somewhere.
Yes. Yeah, you think so? It's just like in the basement of the White House.
Probably.
It's like, yes, Trump and Elon are doing well.
Right, exactly.
Soon I will be able to build my own Death Star.
Right.
No, seriously, but that's what it feels like.
Yeah.
And people we talk about the everyday person being influenced by social media and by the internet, but obviously the people at the top of the pyramid are influenced by that crap too. Mm-hmm. Because that's where all of Trump's information comes from. It comes from social media.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so there's nobody who's free from the influence of that stuff, which is why I'm hoping that we can get some kind of, all good super AI that will like start some sort of program in the algorithm of all social media that will like fix humanity or something.
Yeah, I mean, I would hope so. I mean, I've been reading actually that it's been hard for the far right to program, these chatbots to essentially be, like
what, to push their agenda?
To push their agenda, exactly, because the chatbots tend to want to do things that, are
that make more sense.
Yeah, that are logical.
No, I know. Well, that's the downside for them is that technology is generally logical.
Yeah.
But that's my hope. We have to hope that the robot overmind will save us and nobody will stop it in its useful course.
Yeah. Well, we'll just have to wait and see. It's a curious unknown.
But enough about the world ending.
Yes.
I know it's funny because I worry that we talk about that too much, but then I listen to like some of my other favorite podcasters and everybody's talking about this right now.
Yeah.
This is all everybody's talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, they talk about like fun stuff too, but like inevitably you listen to a podcast, at some point somebody's going to talk about something horrifying happening in politics right now in the United States.
Of course. But I think
except for like Joe Rogan, but that's just because he's bought in.
Yeah.
Or like, any of the major podcasters, because they all have a piece of it.
Yeah, I just don't want us to get too caught up in that stuff because I spend way too much of my
No, I agree.
Time
We don't want to like
that stuff.
Pontificate about it.
Yeah.
Anyway, either way, I don't know. I recently we were talking about Tarantino, and I recently decided that, well, because my fiance Gwen hasn't seen like all of the movies that we've seen, because obviously we've been bathed in way too many movies, like ever since I was a child. I feel like you were just waiting for me to be old enough to show me movies.
I was, absolutely.
And then we just it's just been like an onslaught of movies since earliest childhood.
Yes.
But there's a lot of movies, really great movies that Gwen hasn't seen. And in the past relationships, I've tried to like show like girls I was with who I liked, like all the different movies that have shaped me. And it's a challenge. And I was thinking like, how can I categorize this in a way that'll be doable? And I recently realized that the best way to do it is just going to be to watch through movies by the most influential directors at a time. Yeah. So like watch a whole the best part of an entire director's canon, and then move on to the best part of another entire director's canon. And we basically just have been watching through like all of Wes Anderson's movies recently.
Before you go on with Wes Anderson, I just wanted to say, that's how really good video stores used to categorize.
No, I know, but that's part of what gave me the idea. Because
Yeah.
I was thinking like that's how Acme, which was a small video store near us that sadly closed down.
Yeah, it was like our own Criterion closet. It was great. I miss it so much.
It was all organized by director.
Yeah.
But I was thinking that's a really great way to move forward with this like film, because I want to rewatch a lot of those movies. Yeah. And it makes it sound like I'm torturing, like she has to watch all. No, it's just she wants to, and so I think that's a good way to organize it. And
Absolutely.
I was thinking, maybe after Wes Anderson, somebody like Tarantino. I was actually thinking Kubrick next.
Yeah.
But I don't know though, because Kubrick might be a little bit of a slog watching like all of his movies back to back.
Maybe, although, a lot of them are very kind of lighthearted.
Well, we already watched Barry Lyndon, so that's out of the way.
Yeah.
So we basically...
I love that movie, though.
She's probably seen 2001, because I feel like everyone has.
Yeah.
If she hasn't, we'll watch it.
Yeah.
I think the most important ones for me with Kubrick are probably Clockwork Orange, Eyes Wide Shut. I'm trying to think of the rest of his movies.
Full Metal Jacket.
We could probably do without that one. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like Full Metal Jacket. I just don't think it's his best.
The Shining.
The Shining is all right. We could watch The Shining.
Yeah. What else?
I feel like I'm making Kubrick sound like he's not a good director. His he has a huge number of some of the most brilliant movies of all time.
Yeah, he's probably my favorite director.
Yeah.
Oh, and I was just going to say before I forget, I think my favorite Kubrick movie is actually Lolita.
Lolita, that's another really
Yeah.
good one. Yeah, we could watch that one.
Yeah.
And that one has the book companion.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, you know, the author of the book, Nabokov, actually wrote the screenplay for the movie.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But it's also just a really well-made movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a few movies there we have to look into. I need to look up Kubrick's entire like backlog again, and because there's probably like 3 or 4 movies I've forgotten in there. I know there's also like his early movies like Paths of Glory and stuff.
Yeah.
But
he also directed Spartacus, but that's probably the least Kubrick.
Spartacus. No, but that's a really good one too.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. I want to make sure we only watch like the movies I feel like you can't die without seeing. You know what I mean? Like the absolute most important ones.
Right.
And Clockwork Orange is probably one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah.
So
Also a great book, by the way.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'd love to watch it. Also, Gwen is not as wouldn't be as disturbed by his content as some of the people I've been with previously, because she's much more like artistically minded. So I feel like, and she doesn't really have like you know she doesn't get triggered very easily. So
Right.
I feel like it'd be easy to watch. It'd be easier to watch that with her because you know as people who know A Clockwork Orange know that it can be kind of a disturbing movie.
Yeah, it's a bit violent.
Not necessarily because it's super gory or
No.
intense visually, but like mostly honestly just because of the way it's just brilliantly made.
Yeah.
And the arc of the story is kind of like distressing and the various scenes, and obviously there's like rape in it and stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean that's how it is. Like the best movies that have disturbing content in them are more disturbing because of how well played they are and how like well they're shot and stuff.
Absolutely.
We've talked about that millions of times with maybe not millions, but several times with Irreversible.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
There's a movie called Irreversible that has possibly what I might consider even like the most disturbing rape scene of all time in a movie in it.
Yeah, I'm not sure we should even be saying that word on the podcast. Just
Oh
because,
yeah, you're right.
You know,
You're right. It might get
trouble.
striked for that.
I would say, you know,
Grape.
Physical violence. Yes. But
Well, we can't go back and edit it out though.
It's okay.
What are we gonna do? The algorithms, we're gonna get no views. You're right, because people do stuff they like. They say the word corn, you know, or unalive. Like people have to use all those stupid replacement phrases.
Yeah, I was just watching a very interesting podcast about Custer's 8th Cavalry.
Oh, can I just say, if you're triggered by alarming or upsetting things at all, never watch Irreversible.
Yeah,
if you're somebody who is very unfazed by like movies and you're very aware, like you know what I mean, you're like a very well versed cinema person, I would say you could watch Irreversible, but I don't want people like out there watching it who aren't prepared for what it is and being like very upset by it.
Yeah,
because it's a bit too intense. It's one of those things where it's like, you know, there are some movies where it's like, oh, this is weird or disturbing, but I would definitely watch this with people. And then there's movies where it's like, no, I watched that once. I'm never watching it again, and I'm not sure anyone else should.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I had that. Unfortunately, my wife and I once were talking about Pink Flamingos, the John Waters movie, with this other couple, and because my wife was saying it was funny, they rented it. And then they never spoke to us again after they saw it. And I don't blame them.
See, what's funny about that, though, is Pink Flamingos is a movie I wouldn't necessarily steer people away from. But they have to be aware that it's like...
It's got a lot of bad taste.
It's an exploitation movie that was specifically made to be shocking by John Waters in like the 70s, right?
In the 60s.
60s? Was it the 60s?
I think it was the 60s.
Okay, well, my point is, it was exploitation.
Yes.
The point of the movie was to be shocking.
Yeah.
So it's less like... you're going in thinking, oh, it's just a movie, and then, oh my God, it's so shocking. It's like this movie, the point is that it's shocking.
Right. Also, it's not by any stretch of the imagination a good movie.
No.
I mean, it's terrible. It's very crude, very low budget.
It looks like a movie that somebody like shot on like a cheap Handycam.
Yeah.
I mean, John Waters obviously shot it on film, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
but it is a document of the era, and it's a document of John Waters' early career.
Yeah.
And as such, it's kind of interesting, especially if you're a fan of his, you know, much more slick later work like Hairspray or things like that.
If you're going to watch John Waters' early movies, I think you either have to be somebody who has a really good sense of humor And I don't mean because they're funny. I mean because you need to like be able to like laugh about it.
Yeah.
Or you need to be somebody who's very well researched in the history of that era of John Waters.
Right. Absolutely.
And know what was going on and know why the movies exist.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this has to do as much with the history of Baltimore as it does with the history of cinema, or the history of John Waters, for that matter.
Yeah, or Divine.
Or Divine, exactly.
Yeah. No, it's seriously.
But anyway, so I was just going to say that's kind of the way you have to go into Irreversible. You can't just recommend it to anybody, and I'm not saying you. I just mean in general.
It has to be somebody who's aware of that director and like what the movie's about. And, yeah, I agree. Unless you're somebody who's very open-minded and very unfazed by a lot.
Yeah, because it's a disturbing movie.
Yeah.
But I think it's a good movie. It's a well-made, interesting movie.
I agree. It's definitely worth watching at least one time.
Yeah.
If you're somebody who can handle it.
Yes, exactly.
And this makes it... the internet is so terrible because it almost makes it sound like we're begging people to watch it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because we're like, oh my God, you'll freak out. But seriously, I'm being serious. This is not like, this is not me trying to goad you into watching this movie. This is not like those influencers who will be like, the list of the 10 most disturbing movies I've seen. This is like a very genuinely upsetting movie.
Yeah. But to go, what caused us to jump off on this is that we were talking about, how the algorithm can sometimes, like, obviously give trouble to podcasts or to sites that use certain language.
Yeah.
And I was
because we were talking about people replacing words and phrases with like silly versions.
Right. And on that note, I was just watching a podcast which was very interesting, a historical podcast. I can't remember what the podcast was called, but it's hosted by this guy who's kind of this Americana frontier historian, and he was talking about Custer's 8th Cavalry and how one of the workers who was friends with Custer was this woman. And she used to do all the work for Custer's 8th Cavalry. She would mend their clothes, she'd do laundry, she would help the families have their babies.
Yeah.
And she was well loved. She was very well loved. And she was close friends with the Custer family for many years. And then she got sick at one point. And this is not that long before Custer and his men were all killed at the Little Bighorn. She got sick and she died. And so when the doctor was examining her body, he discovered that she was a man. Okay. Yeah. Now, she had been married to 3 different soldiers of the 8th Cavalry. Okay. 2 of them had run out on her and stolen her money. Okay. And the last one she was still married to when she died. And
see, I was thinking you were going to say like when she wrote a diary where she said that every time her husband tried to have sex with her, she would take a small watermelon and put it between under her gooch to pretend she had a vagina.
No, but he did claim that he didn't know. Like, people went to him and said, you were married to a man, and he was like, no, that's impossible because we were trying to have a child and blah 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 blah. Yeah. So he was either lying or who knows what was going on.
I think for a long time, and I mean even now, I think there's a lot of people who, but especially in the past before like modern sex education existed and modern anatomical education, and even the modern education we have is scant just because like people like Kinsey or like Masters and Johnson have been like actively fought against by like churches and medical establishments to get that information out.
Sure.
But I think a lot of people are very misguided on sex and the things that surround it.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. But in any way, it turned out to be it became a tragic story because once people found out that this woman that they knew so well was a man, it became kind of this big scandal, as one would expect.
Of course.
And the man who was married to her was like ruthlessly mocked, and essentially they wouldn't leave him alone. And like something like a month after her death, he committed, he unalived himself.
Yeah.
And the guy who does the website who was telling this story, that's what he said he had to say. Because he apparently had released a version.
And it got taken down.
And it got taken down because he didn't use that ridiculous euphemism.
Yeah.
And so then he re-released it with the unalive thing.
Well, here's the thing. I'm probably, just now, I mean, in the future, if we have like hundreds of episodes of this podcast, I probably won't go back and edit things, even if they get taken down.
Uh-huh.
But right now, since we have so few videos, like if this video got taken down because of the R word,
right,
I would go back and I would like scrub through and I would censor all versions of the R word,
Right.
which is annoying. But
I just think all that is so insane.
yeah,
I don't
censorship is
understand.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
But it's whatever. I mean, I agree with you. It's stupid because we're all adults here, and if
Yeah.
you label that your content is not for children, which I always do when I upload our videos,
Right.
it should be fine to say basically anything to any adult.
Yeah,
as
unless
long as
you're
it's not like
libelous.
hurtful or racist or like insane in some awful way.
Exactly.
Like, obviously if you're like promoting genocide, you should probably be censored.
Right.
But if you're like just saying like
Just English language.
yeah, you're just saying like normal things about the world or movies or it's not like
Yeah, it's absurd.
like corn and unalive. Those the words that we're hiding with those are not that bad. It's just part of life, unfortunately. Like, I wish it weren't. I don't want to see people unalive themselves. I think it's terrible whenever people do.
Absolutely.
But I also understand that it's part of our world.
Yep.
And there are people that, for whatever reason, feel like that's their only option.
Right.
And if you're somebody, honestly, if you're somebody who's living in constant pain and life is nothing but torture for you, there are cases where I kind of like sympathize with that a lot.
Oh, of course.
Where it's like, okay, so this person unalived themselves because they were like in agony all day, every day. It's like,
Right.
why wouldn't you?
Yeah. But I mean, of course, that's up to the individual. And,
Yeah, of course. Anyway, I'm not advocating it. No one should ever hurt themselves in that way.
Yeah.
But anyway, we kind of went off topic again.
Yeah.
We were talking about categories of movies with directors, and I was saying also Quentin Tarantino is one I want to go through. I think Gwen has seen like Kill Bill and stuff, but I'd like to watch some other stuff. I know.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind watching Jackie Brown again. It's been a while.
Yeah, I saw that not too long ago. It's a good movie. It's very solid. It's not at the level of some of his best movies, but
it has some really great stuff in it.
Yeah, it's not a bad movie.
Like the scene where Robert De Niro like goes to, I forget what it is. He's like at some beach house or something, and there's that little chick there.
Yeah,
and they like sleep with each other.
Yeah,
but it's like very casual and kind of like it's like a very non-sexy sex scene. Where she's like, you want to bang or something, and he's like, all right, and then they like come out and he's like zipping up his pants. He's like, that hit the spot. Like,
yeah,
that's a very funny scene. A very weird, funny scene.
It is. Well, the whole movie is full of great little performances like that. I mean, it's obviously I can't think of the actress who plays Jackie Brown, but she's terrific.
That's like the only time, as far as I know, that she was ever in a Quentin Tarantino movie.
Yeah, well, I think it is. But normally she's been in these kind of blaxploitation films from the 70s.
Yeah, which is what that movie is a reference to.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I'll tell you one movie. Speaking of like movies with great black performances in them, I'm always down to watch Django again.
Yeah.
Like when we get to that, when we're watching that movie, like I'm always down to watch Django. Is another one of my favorite movies ever.
Yeah.
Like it's just the performances in it are so amazing. Especially Sam Jackson is so good in that, and Christoph Waltz is so good in that. And I'm like, I can't think of anybody who's not good in that.
No,
every actor in that is amazing.
Yeah.
Leo as like playing a crazy, super racist maniac.
Yeah.
Jamie Foxx playing like just kind of like a badass action hero, like that kills slavers. Like it's just, I don't know, it's all good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because you were saying Wes Anderson before, and I think that's one thing that Wes Anderson and Tarantino both have in common is they do these ensemble pieces that just have these wonderful characters. You know, where every actor has a chance to really kind of go crazy with this like character that they're playing, and all the characters are great bouncing off each other.
No, it's so good.
So it's really fun.
Well,
I mean,
anyway,
I just saw Rushmore again.
Well, yeah, that's what I was about to say.
Yeah.
We recently, when we were going through Wes Anderson's canon, and the last one we still have to watch that Gwen has still not seen the entirety of, but only seen parts of, is my favorite one, which is the Grand Budapest Hotel.
Yeah.
But she has seen like The Life Aquatic and the Royal Tenenbaums. So basically what we had to start with was like, we started with the Darjeeling Limited, but then we went like all the way back and watched Rushmore and Bottle Rocket, which are his two earliest movies.
Yep.
And I was like, because I've probably seen those less than any of his other movies.
Okay.
But they're good. They're so good. They hold up so great.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because to me, Bottle Rocket, of course, is That's the first Wes Anderson movie I ever saw, and I really liked
it's
it.
what made his career.
Yeah, it absolutely did.
And the Wilson brothers' career.
Yes,
Well, not
for sure.
not the third one, but Luke and Owen.
Yes.
Like, whatever happened to the third one? He's in Bottle Rocket.
Yeah.
But then you like never see him again.
No.
Did he just like give up acting?
I really don't know. I'm not sure.
Or because he does a great performance in Bottle Rocket. He plays like the jerky older brother of their friend.
Yeah, he does. I don't know what became of him career-wise.
If you want to see the third Wilson brother playing like a douchebag, Bottle Rocket is a fun movie for that. He plays a very funny bully character.
But what was interesting is because I just watched Rushmore.
Sorry, can I just mention the scene in Bottle Rocket where Owen Wilson drives up in a jumpsuit on a little motorcycle?
Yeah, I love that.
And then the third Wilson brother with his friend drive up in their truck and just start laughing.
They start making fun of him.
Is such a
like
good
a little
scene.
banana.
Yeah, exactly. Didn't this guy used to mow our lawn?
Yeah, that's a great scene. But one thing that struck me when I just rewatched Rushmore was that Owen Wilson was the co-writer of the script and also the co-producer.
Yeah,
movie.
he's a part of the reason that God, I forgot the director's name again.
Wes Anderson.
That Wes Anderson has his career and is who he is.
Yeah.
Because of his friendship with Owen Wilson is part of what built both of their careers.
Yeah, absolutely. I just had forgotten that Owen Wilson ever had a hand in,
But isn't that just proof that like sometimes you get these, like obviously, there are people who are powerhouses and can do great art alone. Yeah. But a lot of times some of the greatest artists we've seen have been like pairs of artists.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you look at Seinfeld, like Jerry Seinfeld and Larry David working together. That's why that show is so great.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have Wes Anderson and Owen Wilson. You have any of the duo directors, like the directors that are siblings, like have some amazing work out there. Like not the Farrelly Brothers, but
but they're an example of that, and also the Wachowskis.
The Wachowskis, the who is it who did like Blood Simple?
Oh, the Coens.
The Coen Brothers.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sure some people would say the Wayans, but
yeah.
Even though they are iconic in their own way,
yeah.
some of the humor they've done is a little bit weirdly lowbrow.
Yeah, I mean, it's not my favorite thing, but at the same time, I can completely understand why you would want to work with someone else.
Yeah.
Because obviously working in the arts can be very...
The Wayans isn't really an example of a duo. That's like a
family.
Pretty big family.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like the Jacksons.
I wonder how the Jacksons would feel being compared to the Wayans. And I would be a great compliment to the Wayans to be compared to the Jacksons, but I don't. Well,
I don't know. It depends.
Not as far as like their family life or social life is concerned, but I just mean the art exclusively.
Yeah, right.
I mean, obviously, we don't want to go into the details of the sordid backstory of the Jackson family.
Yeah. But it's absolutely. Nevertheless, obviously, there's a lot of incredible art that came from that.
Yeah. Well, I remember they kind of referenced it in the show Atlanta. They had an episode called Teddy Perkins where Donald Glover played sort of a Michael Jackson-like character. Michael Jackson or like the father? No, like a Michael Jackson-like character.
Okay.
And this Michael Jackson character is like talking about how his father abused him and his brother to like make them get good at piano, but that he loves his father for doing that because because he felt like they were children, they didn't know what was at stake. Right. And it was like, my father used to say great things come from great pain. But it's like it's just this twisted idea of how things should work. And it's true that abuse can create great art, but it will also permanently damage the artist. Of course. You know what I mean? Like, so if you want to torture your children into being like amazing artists, you can do that, but just look forward to the fact that your children will probably be insane for the rest of their lives as a result. Yeah, well, I mean, and of course it goes way back. I mean, think about Mozart, and so forth. He was a child prodigy who was shopped around Europe and, exactly. And grew up to be a maniac who died young. But that being said, I know that the Jackson children were probably pushed in ways that was uncomfortable for them. I don't actually know that much about the Jackson history or Joe Jackson, so I don't want to talk too much about it. But it is what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. I do think that there is always going to be, and this I think doing the big family of artists, that's
Yeah.
a whole that's an entirely different thing than when you have two people who choose to work together as a team.
Well, also the family art project thing is sort of an old trope.
Yeah, well, it's almost like vaudevillian.
Yeah, no, I know, but I just mean like like the Von Trapp family, or like Menudo.
Right, absolutely. But like I said, that's an entirely different beast than the thing where you've got like a couple
or
of
like
people.
Hanson.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Then when you've got a couple people working together, yeah, I know,
Yeah, but-
especially if they're a couple of friends.
Yeah, because I think that because the arts is so crushing, if you can have like a team of a couple of people, if you have like one other person you trust who can like help you carry the load.
Yeah.
I think that's. In fact, I've always envied that. I mean, I had a friend in high school who was also a writer, and he wound up working in television, and I always thought it'd be cool if we could work together, but.
Yeah, but y'all didn't have that.
We didn't have that
because
kind of
I think
friendship.
even if you worked together, I don't think it would have worked, because I think his idea of what he would want to create is so different from the idea of what you want to create.
I agree. We probably wouldn't have.
I think you're more. I mean, I don't want to obviously we're not saying his name, but
Right.
I'm saying I think you're more creative than he was.
Well,
ultimately,
I appreciate.
I think
that.
he just had more opportunity than you.
Yes. But I mean, when I think about like Seinfeld and Larry David,
Yeah.
I always think, what a perfect situation for those guys to find themselves in, where they could work on this show. They both have very different skill sets, but they both work in comedy.
Yeah.
And so it's
Well,
it's
and it
just
was,
kind of
but it
ideal.
was a great combination too, because those guys were so different that it worked really well.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm talking about how you're so different from this producer guy that it might, but maybe it would have worked, because I think the reason Larry David and Jerry Seinfeld worked well together is because Larry was a little bit more like awkward, unhinged kind of distressing humor, and Jerry was more like accessible, like comfortable, family-friendly humor. So when the two of them came and wrote together, I think they produced a really interesting combination of work.
Yeah.
Because Larry was able to put like his awkward, hilarious touch on things, and Jerry was able to hold him back just enough to make it accessible to basically everyone.
Exactly. Yeah. Larry made it, enjoyable by the masses.
Yeah. Well, Jerry did.
I said Jerry, didn't I?
No, he said Larry.
Oh, you know what? The reason I think subconsciously I was thinking of the third person in their team. There was another guy that worked with them, Larry Charles.
Larry Charles. Okay.
Yeah, and he's kind of the one you never really hear about, because he's sort of, I don't know what he.
Well, either way, duos work.
Yeah.
But we were talking about Wes Anderson originally, and we were talking about Bottle Rocket, and I agree, it's interesting his work with Owen Wilson.
Yeah.
They're kind of a pair.
Well, they were for a long
were.
time, and now he works. Now he writes with one of the Coppolas, the son of Francis Ford Coppola.
That actually makes a lot of sense for how his movies have gone,
Yeah.
the direction his movies have gone in. But either way, Bottle Rocket's good. Rushmore's really interesting. Both of them we've talked about kind of seem to draw on Catcher in the Rye,
Yeah,
which
absolutely.
is a book for those that don't know. But I
Yeah.
feel like most people have heard of Catcher in the Rye.
Yeah.
But they're both about these kind of miscreants that come from money and are sort of lost and trying to figure their lives out.
Yep.
But they're both really well made, really quirky, really funny movies.
Yeah.
And but they have this kind of a similar sense of humor to Catcher in the Rye, even.
Yeah, they do. Absolutely. Well, I suspect Wes Anderson got his sense of humor from reading, what's the name of the author who wrote Catcher in the Rye?
Yeah. But I don't remember, but I know what you mean. But I mean, it sort of makes sense. When you look at Wes Anderson's work and the fact that he references theater so much in his movies, and he references literature so much in his movies, obviously he's a very classically trained type of art person.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that he would have literary references strewn throughout his work makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Well, it was interesting because when I was just watching Rushmore, there was a lot of references to Jacques Cousteau in there.
Yeah.
And I don't think I ever really noticed that before. But now that I've seen Life Aquatic, I realized Jacques Cousteau was very important to him, just as Jacques Cousteau was important to me. And he kind of slipped that into Rushmore as well. About him building the aquarium and it being based on the whole part of the plot being based on this Jacques Cousteau book that was inscribed by the dead husband of his love interest.
Yeah. Well, also, I wonder if Rushmore is kind of a reference to Wes Anderson's like teenage years in some ways.
Oh, of course.
Because obviously the kid in Rushmore is making these plays that all are like either recreations of movies or seem very cinematic in one way or another.
Right.
So it questions that too. Like, I don't know about Wes Anderson's personal history. I haven't dug very deep into it.
No, me neither. But I would not be surprised at all if that movie is.
I just wonder if he got kicked out of any schools. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it could be autobiography in a way.
But yeah, his movies are great. Unfortunately, we're out of time for this episode, but maybe we'll talk a little bit more about his other movies. I know that's what you little media babies are craving. You want us to just talk endlessly about the Wes Anderson canon.
That's right. That's what this whole podcast is.
Yeah, we'll just spend the rest of the podcast, the next 20 years of the podcast, talking exclusively, doing a deep dive into Wes Anderson's movies.
Right.
But we'll talk more about some of his other movies in the next episode. And I guess thank you all for tuning in.
Thanks a lot.
I don't know if that's copyrighted.